Sentences are the building blocks for writing. The correct creation helps you to speak more proficiently, write more accurately, and appear more intelligent. Don't we all want that? Hello, and welcome to Mr. G's English Classroom. Today, our focus will be on one of the greatest pitfalls in writing, the sentence fragment. Let's first review what goals we have for the day. By the end of this lesson, you will have met 3 objectives. The first being able to define or provide the definition for fragments. The second being able to identify when there is a fragment. So that is essential. And thirdly, we're going to practice correcting fragments. So let's talk about what is a fragment. What do you think a fragment is? What does the word fragment mean? Where have you heard it before? Well, if you said a fragment is an incomplete sentence or a piece of a sentence, you are correct. So think about this. Breakfast time, you just had some milk, and somehow the glass of milk slipped from your hand and crash, shattered on the floor. Those pieces or those components are fragments of the glass. They're little pieces of the glass. And if you look on your screen, I also have some puzzle pieces there. There are 3 at the bottom. There's 1 orange, 1 at the top. This is what sometimes happens that causes a fragment. We may have components of the sentence that are in one portion of or in one part of the writing, but somehow our subject or our predicate or maybe a part of the thought has been separated from the sentence because we have a full stop or a comma, but they need to be connected to form a complete thought. This is what causes a fragment. Let's move on to talking about what these components may be that come together to ensure that we do not have fragments. Here we are at objective 2, identifying fragments. Let's think back to primary school. What are the 3 things or 3 components that make up a complete sentence? Well, the first 2 are the subject and predicate. I'm certain you got those. The subject is noun or pronoun based. It tells us who or what the sentence is about. The predicate, on the other hand, is verb based. It is an action. It tells us more about the subject or what the subject is doing. The third component is that the sentence must express a complete thought. So we're not left feeling or longing for something. We don't feel as though something has been kept or nipped away from us. This is how we know we have a complete thought. So how do we know if we have a fragment? How do we identify a fragment? A fragment results when one of these 3 things are missing. There may be a missing subject, missing predicate, or it may not express a complete thought. Don't leave your readers feeling as though there's this missing piece of the puzzle that has somehow gotten away from them. Where has it gone? Make sure that you have all 3 components together so you do not have a fragment. Here we are at the big boy, how to correct fragments. So we've just talked about how to identify a fragment, and that gets us to the step. Once we've identified what the problem is with the fragment, we can correct it. So if our fragment is missing a subject or predicate, we are simply going to add a subject or predicate. Let's look at these examples. Example 1, the hungry dog. Is the hungry dog a subject or a predicate? Well, yes, we see the word dog there, and dog is a noun, so we must have our subject, and we need to add a predicate. So what are we going to say about the hungry dog? Well, the hungry dog howled all evening. Howled is a verb, and so we've added safely a complete predicate. How about this one? Scurried to the store. Hmm, scurried is a verb, and so that must mean that I'm missing my subject. Yes, who scurried to the store? And I've added, Sassy Sam Stewart scurried to the store. Let me ask you this literature question. What sound device is Sassy Sam Stewart scurried to the store? 5 seconds. If you said Sassy Sam Stewart scurried to the store is alliteration, you are correct. Good job. So if you have identified that you have a fragment because it's an incomplete thought, then what are we going to do? Complete the thought. That's correct. So let's look at this example. As I arrived home and the clock struck 2 a.m. Yeah, I know you're thinking, what happened? That's because it's an incomplete thought. So what can we add? As I arrived home and the clock struck 2 a.m., the creaking door announced my arrival. I completed the thought. And of course, I have another literature question for you. Here we have a sound device and a figure of speech. Can you identify both of them? 5 seconds. Creaking, if you found that one, that's correct. It's onomatopoeia. And the door announced my arrival. Doors don't talk, so it must be personification. Good job. Let's now play a game called Spot That Fragment or Spot the Fragment. I am going to give you 2 sentences and you are going to see if you can identify which of the sentences is a fragment. Let's try this one. The University of the Bahamas offers many majors in engineering, such as electrical, chemical, and industrial engineering. Which of the 2 is a fragment? 1 or 2? 1 or 2? If you said 2, you're correct. Let's see a possible way for us to correct this fragment. Here is a possible revision. The University of the Bahamas offers many majors in engineering, such as electrical, chemical, and industrial engineering. So we've combined the 2. Let's try another. Because my red pen was not working well, I also purchased pink printing paper. 1 or 2 is a fragment. Sentence 1 or sentence 2? Sentence 1 is correct. Because my red pen was not working well, we're left wondering what happened. Let's see how we can correct this. One possible way of revising the sentence is, because my red pen was not working well, I stopped to John Bull, full stop. Here is our third and final test of spotting the fragment. You go ahead and read this one. Now, which sentence do you think is the fragment? Sentence 1 or sentence 2? If you said sentence 2, you are correct. Leaving the team at a time when they needed her most is a fragment. A possible way of us revising this sentence is by stating, Coach Johnson exemplified poor behavior by walking off the field, leaving the team at a time when they needed her most, or we needed her most, combining the 2 together to form one sentence. Now we've arrived at the big problem. Let's take an opportunity to talk about conjunctions. A conjunction joins a single word or group of words in a sentence, and we're typically familiar with the fanboys, for and, nor, but, or, yet, and so. However, there are a special group of conjunctions called subordinate conjunctions or subordinating conjunctions. A subordinate conjunction joins an independent clause with a subordinate or dependent clause. A subordinate or dependent clause cannot stand on its own. It is dependent on an independent clause. Some of the ways or one of the chief ways we can identify our subordinate clauses is through the use of these subordinate conjunctions on your screen. Some examples are after, because, although, once, since, then, while, and why. Let's see what these sentences look like. Here are 3 examples of subordinating clauses. The first reads, since I am hungry and no one is home, we're left asking ourselves, what happened or what happens since you are hungry and no one is home? Hence, a fragment. We also can see here which word is our subordinating conjunction. See if you remember. Correct. The word is since. So, since I am hungry and no one is home, comma, what can we add? I'm going to add, I will make a sandwich. I am adding a complete independent clause or a part of the sentence which can stand on its own. I is there, that is my subject, will make, my helping verb and main verb, a sandwich, a complete thought. I will make a sandwich. Let's see you try number 2. Although Ali, Paul, and Adrian were late, what might happen although Ali, Paul, and Adrian were late? What can we add here? I'm sure you had a great idea. How about this one? Although Ali, Paul, and Adrian were late, comma, they stopped 2 big boys for breakfast. Don't ever forget to include your comma between your subordinate and your independent clause. Here's our final example. Because Tom is rich, comma, he owns 5 cars. Tom has a whole lot of money. We are at the end of our session, so let's review. Firstly, do you remember the definition of fragments? I'm sure you do. Fragments are incomplete sentences. They are missing a subject, a predicate, or a complete thought. How do we correct this? Simply by adding the missing subject, predicate, or completing the thought. Don't forget the big problem, the subordinating clause. Remember, these are parts of a sentence that cannot stand on their own. They're dependent, and they need the help of an independent clause or a complete sentence to complete them. So, look for those subordinating conjunctions. Once you find them, you know you have a subordinate clause on your hand. Separate the subordinate clause and independent clause with a comma. You will do great. Exceptional job today, students. Always make sure all of the puzzle pieces are in their place. Move forward writing free of fragments. Until next time, see you later.